Hey, I'm Brendan with Noles 24/7, joined again by Zach Blostein. Zach, at Florida State, if we're going to do it then,
We're going to do it big then.
let's get into a big recruiting weekend that's about to emerge for Florida State. It's called Legacy Weekend, and the word legacy is quite appropriate for what is on deck. For FSU, it was just announced on Saturday, that FSU was going to have a slew of former players on campus for that entire weekend, including a baseball game on Friday. The headliner of that, and we'll get to some of the other names as well, Zach, but the headliner for baseball and then who will be there throughout the weekend, our belief is, with a bunch of big-time recruits on campus, the one, the only, Jameis Winston. Huge news for FSU to get that guy back on campus for this weekend, huh?
Massive news. Just an awesome thing. You're going to have, we'll get into a second, but your top, your quarterback of the future, the 2024 class on campus, and he gets to spend the weekend around Jameis Winston. So just an awesome thing. And I don't agree that he's the headliner because we're going to get into some of the other names. Dana will agree with me, but just an absolutely awesome dude to have around campus again.
In the comment section, we got a semi-old head with myself with the hair getting a little gray. We got the young guns in Zach and Dane. We had a little bit of a debate. Should the story headline have been Jameis Winston is returning to FSU for Legacy Weekend, or should have also included Jalen Ramsey, Derwin James as well? Not to demean what those two guys are to Florida State, Zach, but Jameis Winston, with limited headline space, to me, was the priority to get in there. In the comment section, if you're over the age of 30, please agree with me. If you're under the age of 30, learn something and respect your elders, I think is
keep pandering.
So, in addition to Jameis Winston, Zach, joining this weekend, who are some other players? We just kind of spoiled some of it, but go on.
Obviously the headliners, like I just mentioned, the big time names. And then you got some other guys that are just absolute dudes. Cam Akers, one of the top running backs in the NFL. Keir Thomas, Jermaine Johnson, both more recent guys under Mike Norvell. And then Jayshon Corbin, another running back that played for Norvell. And a little older generation, Snoop Minnis. We've confirmed that he's most likely going to be here this weekend. Some of these guys I think are coming Friday just for the baseball game, and then some will be here on Saturday to be around for the main portion of the recruiting event.
And our belief is that Jameis Winston is going to be throwing the opening pitch at baseball on Friday, and I think they're also doing a ceremony for Buster Posey as well.
Yeah, on Saturday, right?
Yeah, all of this is kind of blending together to what's going to be a really fun weekend.
I'm excited.
If you're around Tallahassee, obviously it should be something you're coming to check out the baseball games. But even if you're like a couple hours out, it might be a fun weekend trip for you just to say it's going to be fun. And it's not a coincidence, Zach, that you're getting all these former players, these legends, and just guys who've been part of FSU's recent turnaround as well, coming together in confluence for a huge recruiting weekend as well. We talked about some of the big names that FSU had on campus this past weekend. That was the appetizer. This is the main course. This is what you're been gearing up for this last few months of the offseason for March 11th. Really a huge weekend for FSU. You can check out on Noles247.com. I don't know if we are still running our 50% off promo at the time this video is premiering. If you missed out, that was just a poor decision on your end. I don't know what else to tell you, but we'll have other promos coming up this spring as well. But you can follow along all the visitors that we've had to date confirmed, and it's going to be a huge weekend where you're going to want to follow along with the coverage as well. But Zach, real quick, let's go over about 5 big names that we think or do know so far that are going to be on campus, why it's significant. I'm going to start us off with Landon Thomas, the 5-star tight end from nearby South Georgia. What's the scoop on him? Why is this a big development for Florida State?
It's insanely significant because he was literally just on campus in January, the last time when prospects could make visits to these schools. And then he's already set up a return visit for this specific weekend at Florida State. We're talking about a former Florida State commit in Landon Thomas, the top tight end in the country that's currently committed to Georgia, like you said. But FSU's chipping away at trying to get him back in their 2024 recruiting class. And I mean, he's just ultra talented. We watched this film the other day and it's so fun to watch. I would suggest any, recruiting fan to go and watch it of any school. Like it's really enjoyable. But yeah, Landon Thomas would be an awesome get, and Florida State's going to continue to work on that. I think this weekend could be huge in their chances of trying to pull that one off.
Keep on chipping away. He is relatively close, about an hour and a half. Was he Albany?
I think Colquitt County, yeah.
Colquitt County. So yeah, he's in Moultrie. So he's about an hour and 10 minutes or so away from Tallahassee. So that plays in FSU's favor. But the fact that he keeps showing up and is obviously entertaining FSU is a really good sign. Yep. Next up, let's go to Mississippi. Not always the easiest place to pull a player from, but FSU is damn sure going to try for this prospect. That is 4-star defensive tackle, Kamorian Franklin, 6'4.5", 260 pounds, but someone just kind of keeps growing. We have him ranked at 24/7 Sports. Hang on, pulling up his profile here. 26 nationally, 5th on the defensive line, 93 overall grade. That'll only continue to rise, I would imagine, as we keep on enhancing our evaluation process, Zach. So the significance of Kamorian Franklin on campus this weekend.
Yeah, Kamorian Franklin's visited Florida State a bunch of times throughout his recruitment, but this is the first time this year that he'll be on campus. I think it's a big deal for Florida State as they try to make a lasting impression with him. I think the goal with him is you got to try to get him back for an official over the summer, if that's when he's planning to take them. Obviously we'll catch up with him and get his whole commitment timeline and all that kind of stuff. But he is a massive target, probably their top interior defensive line target on the board right now. He's like I talk about Landon Thomas's film. If you're trying to find a violent defender, that's Kamorian Franklin on the defensive line. Just eats up space on the D line. He plays on the edge right now. I could see him maybe moving to the inside at the next level. That's probably where he fits best. But just a really impressive prospect and a guy FSU badly wants.
Let's stick with the trenches, but moving a little bit closer to Tallahassee, well, at least in terms of it being closer than Mississippi, and that's Jonathan Daniels from Pensacola. He's a top 150 prospect nationally, an offensive tackle, maybe an offensive guard if you're Chris Nee. Who knows? He is a quality offensive lineman. He saw a huge surge in another ranking service recently, up to being like a top 10 prospect nationally. I'm not sure I view him quite to that extent, Zach, but still a very good player. With a lot of upside, relatively local. You got to do well with these panhandle kids if you're Florida State. So he's someone who's showing up to campus. And a little birdie told me that maybe he had a crystal ball dropped for him recently in favor of FSU.
Yeah, director of recruiting at 24/7 Sports, Steve Wilfong, the crystal ball GOAT, dropped a CB for Jonathan Daniels to end up at Florida State with a 6 confidence level. You know me, I'm probably not going to enter the crystal ball game, but hey, shout out to Steve for dropping that. I know FSU fans were excited, and they should be. He's obviously there's a huge ranking discrepancy on versus when you look at 247 versus the composite for Jonathan, but he's a really talented prospect, and like you said, he's semi-local, just a few hours out from Tallahassee. FSU is probably the closest school, I would think to his home over there. He plays his high school at Pine Forest in Pensacola, so not too far away. 6'3", 280 pounds, but his wingspan allows him to maybe play offensive tackle at the next level. So really impressive prospect and a guy that FSU absolutely wants and has been targeting for well over a year now.
Number 4 on our list of 5 players to note, Jalewis Solomon. He's listed as an athlete, but FSU likes him as a defensive back. I believe he's very high on FSU's board right now, Zach. I think, pulling it up, 161 nationally in the 24/7 Sports composite. We're a little bit lower on him right now than the industry. We have an 89 grade on him, and he's the 48th athlete, whereas he's the 15th athlete in the composite. So somewhat of a discrepancy. But as far, who cares what we think? Who cares what they think? What matters is what FSU thinks. FSU loves him.
Yeah. 6'1", 185 pounds, has some position versatility, could be a safety, could be a nickel, maybe he could slide to corner, but I think the previous 2 are probably the most likely position for him at the next level. He's really talented, and like you said, FSU loves him. He'll be back on campus after, I think he visited during the season, so this will be his first visit of the new year, and it'll be big time as Florida State tries to make a move with Jalewis. I think UGA is involved. There are a number of other schools, Auburn, and some others that are in the mix for Jalewis, but FSU is definitely standing out to him. We did a recent story. Dane Draper wrote it on Noles 24/7. You can read that over there, but he has a great deal of interest in Florida State, and he loves Coach Mike Norvell.
And then finally, let's talk about James Madison II, not the James Madison, but still a very talented James Madison in his own right. He is a 4-star wide receiver from St. Thomas Aquinas, powerhouse in Fort Lauderdale. We have him ranked at 24/7 Sports, 221st nationally. The composite, has him at 191st, so fairly close together there as a high-end 4-star wide receiver. Zachary, why is he of significance, even with the wide receiver board kind of always expanding, it seems like, for FSU?
Yeah, he's been a target for quite a while for them. Has visited multiple times. He was over at one of the games this past season was here last summer for a camp, and Florida State really likes him. He's 6'3", 190 pounds, 4-star prospect unanimously in the rankings. Not much of a discrepancy there. But FSU is going to get him on campus for 2 days. So he'll be on campus March 10th, that Friday, and then March 11th on Saturday as well, with both his mom and his grandmother, I believe. So it'll be a big time visit for Florida State as they try to improve their standings with him. I believe he's actually originally from the state of Missouri and moved to South Florida, but he actually visited Missouri this past weekend. So I think they're a school that's in the mix, and Alabama is another program that offered this spring. So his stock is on the rise as well.
2 more prospects who I guess these will be bonuses. We've already kind of hinted at them. They're FSU commitments. One is 5-star running back Cam Davis. Second is 4-star quarterback Luke Kromenhoek. The appeal to me, Zach, for having both of them here this weekend, one, they're going to help recruit for you, right? But little birdie told me Cam Davis, big Cam Akers fan, also Jameis Winston, baseball star and obviously football star. Cam Davis, what is he?
Baseball and football star.
All right. So again, FSU is doing a really good job paying attention to the details in this recruiting process for a player who's been committed for a while and absolutely should remain a priority for the Seminoles, even as his star continues to bolster and as I'm sure other programs are going to keep recruiting him.
Cam Davis is a huge he's FSU's top-rated commit in their class, and he is a guy that Florida State is going to have to battle to keep. He did recent interviews and told reporters that he's probably going to visit multiple other schools this spring and summer. Some of those other programs include Alabama, Colorado, Tennessee, and a few others that he's mentioned multiple times. This isn't something that's catching FSU by surprise, but they do need to try their best to try and keep their crown jewel of the class intact in the class. And I think FSU is doing a good job of that. And I think this weekend, like you said, they're lining it up to be a thing that definitely plays into the Cam Davis recruitment with all the ties to him liking Cam Akers. Obviously him playing baseball and football, which is something that Jameis did in high school and at the college level. And I think, if you look at Luke Kromenhoek, FSU's prize quarterback commit in the 24 class that I mentioned earlier, it's going to be huge for him to be on campus as well. Like you said, I think an underrated part of this is there's going to be dozens of blue chip prospects, and pretty much all of them are going to be takes for Florida State. That's how they're building this weekend. They want most of the prospects on campus to be absolute dudes for them. And Luke Kromenhoek will be on campus to help the staff recruit all those guys. So, absolutely love the way this is setting up for FSU, and I'm just excited to see the results.
Speaking of dudes, Zach Blossstein is a dude. His recruiting coverage is second to none. Sorry, I know I made you blush there, but it is true. Recruiting coverage is phenomenal at Noles 24/7. If you're interested in reading the most up-to-date, the most accurate recruiting information, Noles 24/7 is where I implore you to go. Check it out. We've had multiple specials going on this month in March, depending on what time you're watching this video. We're going to have a couple different promos going on. So make sure you check out Noles 24/7, find a promo that's best for you, and give us a chance, please. We will make sure you want to stick around and keep reading Noles 24/7. So with Noles 24/7, one more time, I'm Brendan. Thanks, Zach. We'll talk to you guys later.